Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Power Lunch. For those of you who are tuned in for the very first time, because I always know that some of you are tuned in because of my illustrious guest, today I have Rhonda Ware Esquire with me. One of the most powerful women in my life. I consider it a divine interaction and intervention at the moment that she came into my life years ago. And she is a phenomenal leadership executive transformation coach, but she also is a very accomplished attorney. And she used to live here in the Milwaukee market and has since left us, but we are proud. And moved on to another part of the country where she is in a current role with Major Lindsay at Africa, and she leverages her background as an attorney and coaching experience to offer valuable insights to law firm partners as they consider potential career moves. So I think that's a perfect marrying of your skill sets. And so I'm just excited to have Rhonda here. She's also the founder of You Are Aware. And I love as a marketing and branding strategist from the moment I met you, and I met you through social media, I was like, how brilliant is this, how she used her last name to name her coaching firm. So I knew right away. She's a fellow Chi-Town girl like me, so immediate connection there. And so she serves as a life coach through You Are Aware and speaker with a national clientele consisting of emerging and established leaders in legal and corporate banking and investments, diversity and inclusion, the faith-based community, and as well as nonprofit organizations. She's empowered hundreds of women. I know so many women personally that you have empowered and you have set on a path that then the path you set them on, I've had the pleasure of helping them execute because you've given them the courage and the wisdom and the knowledge to then feel comfortable enough to sit down with someone like me and strategize on a plan. And so there are so many projects that I consider that we have worked together. I'm sorry, StreamYard's saying something to me, so I just want to make sure we're good. Hey, everybody that's out there watching, let me go on my phone. I want to make sure you can see me and hear me because I just got an error from StreamYard I've never gotten before. It looks like we're still live, so I'm not going to worry about it. But anybody watching, just say hello. Tell us you can hear us because I don't want to just depend on technology. I want to know that you are watching and that you are here. And so hopefully you are, and that you are enjoying this conversation with Rhonda and I, because now I don't see it on my page, so I'm getting worried. Just give me 1 second. Technology sometimes can be very interesting. Yeah, we've got one issue here. It's on my personal page. Okay, we're not going to worry about it. We will share it from the Power Network page. Okay, so that is my introduction of Rhonda. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the Power Network today. It's good to be here. Good to be here.
Yes. And I am honored to have you. I sent Rhonda a text this morning. Like, I think this is like the most excited I've ever been because I just love her, and she has spoken some things into my life that have really transformed how I think about myself, how I view my business. And Rhonda has this innate gift of knowing when to call and when to reach out. And it's a divine gift. And so today I just wanted to talk a little bit about your career journey, about the things you do to keep your gift sharp, because so many can start on fire and that flame can tend to fizzle, especially if life happens. I mean, you're a wife, you're a mother, Naomi's growing up every day, and you have life things happen to you as well. And a lot of times when we are in a position of leadership and coaching others, I heard a pastor once say, you love me, but you don't necessarily like me or care about me, because regardless of what's happening in my life, if you've got a need, you expect me to attend to that need.
Yeah.
So talk to me about when you first realized you had this gift or desire to coach leaders or individuals?
Oh, absolutely. So actually, Christine Hill, and I'm not sure who's on, but some of you may know her. She's the director of Future Milwaukee. We got together for lunch in 2013. And she asked me to do a presentation to talk about my transition from leaving the practice of law to running a nonprofit. And I spoke to Future Milwaukee about a month and a half later and took the audience through the steps that I took myself through to make that transition. And as a result, 8 women approached me individually and asked me if I would help them with career transition. And that's really how my business was born. It was out of a need for a particular population of emerging and established leaders who needed some help with transition. And that's really how it was started.
Okay.
Yeah, that was how. So out of a real need. Yeah.
Mm. And so there's so many individuals long after you started calling themselves life coaches. What would you say to an individual who's looking for a life coach right now? What should they look for to know that this is the person who should be guiding them through this stage of life?
Well, for me, I think, and I'll speak for myself, if I were looking for a life coach, it would need to be someone who had a career trajectory and a vision and execution of their life that was in alignment with who I am. So for instance, I'm an attorney by training. I've worked in government. I've worked in nonprofit. I've worked in higher education. I'm a speaker. I've done these things. I've been successful in these different areas. And so people who are drawn to me are people who want to get empowered in those particular spaces. And so, but I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, that's not who I am. So if someone is looking for that, then it's important that they seek that kind of assistance. Now, I've worked with some coaches. I've been introduced to some coaches. Another thing that was important for me is this person telling me something that isn't in alignment with like who I am? So as an example, if I start working with someone, the first time I sit down with them, they're like, okay, leave everything that you're doing and just take the leap. That's not my testimony. That's not in alignment with who I am. I have my faith and my belief in God. God's my life. I have my family that I consider in every decision. And so for me, I would want a coach who wouldn't just talk about, poof, it's going to happen, but how do you sustain it? Like, what are the specific tools that will help you sustain any shift? And so that's what I would take into consideration, and I have done that in the past, and have said no to people and said yes to people.
That's excellent. There also is this misconception and confusion. I think some of it is about finances between a coach and a mentor.
Yeah.
And so speak to that for someone who needs insight around that.
Well, again, I'll speak from my position. When I have mentors, so actually you mentioned MLA, so I'm currently with Major Lindsay in Africa. The blessing, or many blessings there, but the blessing that stands out to me is the mentors I have, right? The people who I work with across the globe, who I can learn from, right? But learn from and add value to, because anytime you have a mentor, you need to be respectful of their time and attention, right? You need to have specific things you want to learn from them, and they have to be open and willing to share. Coaching, and so for me, mentorship does not cost money, but it costs time and commitment, though. There's time and commitment, right? And again, there has to be a good fit. With coaching, coaching is more of, I think, a financial investment where you're looking for someone who can be very targeted and intentional and hold you accountable and give you these tools so you experience meaningful outcomes. But it does come at a cost.
Agreed. And you are one of the most phenomenal coaches that I've ever come across, because there is a divine gift on the inside of you that comes out when talking. And I love that you mentioned being a woman of faith, because that is one of the things that I feel differentiates you from other coaches, is that you're very open about that. and that is weaved into every conversation that you have with clients and even friends. You know, we've
Yes.
sat down as friends on many occasions at a meal, and you know, you sent a text to me like out of the blue, just innately knowing that, you know, I needed you, and giving me just that's the other thing too. People look for this to be this long, drawn out process or these in-depth conversations, and you can send me 2 sentences that can put me in that for the rest of the month or the year. And so that to me is also a sign of a good coach. And then also knowing that you're in a place to receive, you know, that, you know, when you send me that, because of my trust with you, I heed that immediately. And then I also take it to prayer to say, okay, God, you gave this to Rhonda to give to me. What would you have me do with that?
Yes, yes. No, God is
Mhm.
God is the head. This to me is just as an extension of my assignment, why I was created, and I take that very seriously. You know, I'm very prayerful. I was prayerful before we got on today, prayerful all the time. I believe in having a strong relationship with God. And I've been in conversations with clients and said, if this isn't in alignment with what God is showing you, then it's not what you need to do. And so, yes, the faith-based element of what I do is it's one and the same. It is You Are Aware, and it is me.
Right.
So again, that some people may not want that in a coach, and that's okay because there's other people who won't do that, but that is certainly a part of who I am.
Now, working in corporate in the way you do and being an attorney, a lot of women find themselves struggling to figure out, is it appropriate to even mention their faith in the workplace and their belief system and how to incorporate that. Give some advice, you know, and you can do it from any point in your career, because, you know, at the ages we are now,
I had many. I could go all the way back.
Right,
you know,
right. Like,
the 90s.
You're right. There's no fear. You're going to get what you get. Because someone else will hire me.
yes, I'm all the way back. Yeah.
Right.
All the way back.
But for the young entrepreneur that may be watching, or a young corporate professional that may be watching, that feels almost stifled in her ability to mention faith, what advice do you have?
Well, for me, you have to be clear on who you are and how you choose to live your life. And that certainly evolves. So, you know, I think I really found my voice around how faith guides my work. I mean, it's inextricably linked in You Are Aware, because I really believed I was called to it in a season. So that's who I am as a coach. Now, in the corporate space I'm in, I mean, I don't hide that, you know, I'm a Christian and that I love God. I may not always lead with it, but in word, but I lead with it in who I am and how I show up, if that makes sense. So, but you have to find your level of comfort wherever you're at. And everyone may not be as comfortable as I am at this stage in my life. Do what feels authentic to you. And the reason why I say that is, you have to bring your authentic self to everything you do, even beyond your belief system, because it'll be in that authenticity that the people you're here to serve will connect to you. So if you're in a corporate space and you're kind of leaning back and you're not, you know, it drops in your spirit to say something, right? You know, maybe it's about diversity and inclusion or something, you know, and you're the only one at the table and you're a little nervous. Your ministry could be, you need to say that to impact change, and they need to hear your voice to impact change. And so for me, it's your relationship with God empowers you to be able to speak what is in your heart to speak that can make a change. And so that's how I would think about it more, is who are you? Why are you positioned where you're at? What's your assignment, and how do you execute it?
That's so good, because what you said, there's so many pivotal pieces in what you said. You know, the way you live is your ministry. And so a lot of times you won't even have to tell. So I've had people in corporate who don't go to church, who don't pray, who have walked up to me and said, "You seem to have this relationship that I don't have. Will you pray for me?" And that has opened up, you know, an opportunity. So I would say to the young professional, you don't got to come in and quote scriptures, and you need to be appropriate in the workspace, but there is a wisdom and a way that you can live your authentic self that people will know that there is a higher calling about you.
Yes.
And know that they can lean into that. And even if they don't know how to articulate it, if you are living it every day, they will see that without you needing, you don't have to go in a courtroom and say, the Bible says.
Depending on the case, but by
right. But you don't have to.
Absolutely. No, it's absolutely true. And it's more powerful to live a thing that it is to talk about living a thing, right?
Come on now,
So just live it. And if you live it, they're going to know who your mentor is or who your coach is or what church you go to. Like live your life and be who you are, because the world needs you to do that. Just live. But live it out. You can't keep talking about it. And that's what goals. That's what your vision for the future. You have to live. You have to live.
Right. That's so good. What about those that you coach or interact with, that you see this thing on the inside of them and fear is stopping them from living it out? What do you say to them?
Well, so you have to release. So so sometimes I can see it. Sometimes they can sense it, but it's covered up with what society told them they could do, or what a family member who loved them, you know, was scared for them and didn't want them to take a leap, told them they couldn't do. So we have to let all of that stuff go. So I take them through different exercises to help them release thoughts and beliefs that are no longer serving them, so they can fully be who they truly are. But lots of different exercises. We got to let things go. You know, I take them through decluttering exercises, not just to clean their house, but it's to release things, because thoughts and beliefs, I mean, they can shift and change, and it's all in your mind. You have to change your mind before you can change your circumstance. And so we do a lot of exercises around releasing what is holding them back in order to move forward in purpose.
Agreed. Mentors like yourself and John Haynes, who's on and watching, and he said that you preaching more than we amening right now.
Thank you, John.
That's funny. You know, you guys have both required of me, and I think that's what a great mentor does. I mean, and not in a pushy way, but just drop the seeds to think bigger and to dream bigger and to just, you know, get my stuff in order as I've gone into this entrepreneurial journey. And I remember one of the first things, we were at lunch at Devon's, and you asked me to picture my client. And, you know, you asked me to picture, we were in your office when you asked me this. Where was she sitting? What was she wearing? What did the crowd around her look like? And this visualization exercise that you took me through, that I often bring myself back to, because one of the things I think with fear is that we don't allow ourselves, and John is the king of saying, like, what is your big crazy dream?
Yes.
And that's always one of the first questions that he asks as a coach. And for so many, it's like, I believe God didn't put limits on our imagination for a reason. You know, we can imagine ourselves flying right now. We can imagine anything. To your point of it all goes back to mindset. And so that visualization piece that you talked about is so important. And if you can't see it here, then it will be very hard to see it in the tangible sense of things and to live it out.
Absolutely.
And so when you think about the conversations and exercises that you walk people through, I mean, I would even say, you know, because I'm not a life coach like you guys at all. You know, I'm strategy from a professional perspective. But you know, I can also tell when they're just not ready. Do you come across that where you just can tell, like, is there a time that they're not ready for a life coach, or that they need to do some work, or do you get them there? Like, talk through that.
Well, how do I know someone is not ready to work with me? Is that they're not ready to do the homework that I give them and the reflections that I give them, because it's really up to them, right? So working with me, or I'm presuming other life coaches, it's not about becoming me. It's about becoming the best you can be. And that takes work. Change takes work. To change your mind, to change your circumstance, to be committed to doing that, to see the results. It is a deep a commitment. And so if they're not ready to do that, I can probably tell after the first couple of weeks, or even when I meet them. If you know, I've run into a couple of people, and not many, who I think would reach out to me because they wanted to vent or just kind of share where they're at, or they may have been looking for someone who would just give them the answers. And that's not, I'm not just giving you the answers. I'm helping to facilitate you identifying your answers, identifying your strategy, and identifying the best, most authentic way for you to execute it. And so I think, you know, but again, there might be other life coaches who have a different approach than I do. But for me, that's how I know, because you have to put in the, and I just have to say, change takes courage. It takes courage even to call somebody to help you, right? It takes courage to ask the questions, well, do I need a change, right? Everybody else says I'm great, but do I need a change? It takes courage to then make a commitment financially to yourself, right? An investment in yourself, to reach out to a resource who can help you. And it takes courage to complete the journey. So if someone is not ready to do that, then I don't think that they're ready to work with me.
That's good. That's good. That's really good. You know, I know so many women that you've coached, and just to watch the evolution of them doing the work and working, doing their soul's work, doing their purpose work, in addition to their day jobs, or as opposed to their day jobs, where now the dream has become the job, is a powerful testimony. I always tell individuals the most powerful marketing plan is a change life. And so that's why I was drawn to You Are Aware. I'm like, she's changing lives, you know? And so I'm like, I want to get to know this woman who is changing the lives of women, because the proof is in the pudding. And you got, as the young people would say, receipts out here.
I have receipts in these streets. It's a
right.
Yes, it works. Yeah.
Right.
If you work it.
Right. And if you're and dedicated to it, and you are. And so something else that you said to me that stuck with me. Oh, I could go on and on. First of all, I'm looking at my walls right now. And one day, so I came to Rhonda in a very vulnerable state of my life, due to my previous divorce. I had to, I lost my house. And at the point that I came to her, I was living in a little tiny house, and I just could not see past that moment. And I remember being vulnerable and sharing that with you, because you just immediately made me feel like this was a safe space to do that. And the restaurant we were in had really vast walls, and it had these huge mirrors on it. And you said, you know, one day, you know, you're going to have a house with walls big enough to fit these mirrors. And I'm looking at my walls, and that has come to fruition. And I know this is just one of the homes that will have that. And even in a time where my husband and I were going through some things, you've been able to say, you know, when I told you about that house, Wes was living in it. And then the last thing that I have, this is my self-care litmus test, is you said to me, my 25% looks like most people's 100%. So I needed to be cognizant of that as it relates to how I'm moving. And I'm always thinking about that, because even through with my husband having his accident last week and everything, it's like, I'm still go. And I have to remind myself, like, you can take a shower, you can eat today, you know, and it's like, it's okay. So talk about the importance of self-care and your approach to that, because you yourself have your business. You have a amazing position with the corporation. You have a husband who's also an attorney, Naomi, little cutie pie growing, and you're being an amazing mom. You have your son. So how does all of that come together for you? What's your self-care like?
Well, I have to remember that I matter, and that I'm important, and that I'm valuable. And I'm being really intentional with those words, because I have to remind myself that, and I also remind my clients. So what do you do when something matters and is valuable? You make time for it. You take care of it. Now, with all the other hats that I wear, that might be at 9 p.m. to midnight, where I can just have some time to reflect on the day, think about the call today. But find that time for yourself. And what especially in the times we're living in, right? So I think it's a little more difficult when kids are in the home and they're not in school, right? They can't go to summer camp. So you have all these other things going on that you may not have had before. What I say is, right now, start with 15 minutes and put it on your calendar, 15 minutes a day, where you can just stop and check in with yourself and breathe. And did I eat right? Did I take care of myself? Because here's the thing. You can only give to others what you're willing to give to yourself. And so you have to matter. Because in all that other stuff, you'll be depleted, and you can't be the 100%, right? You can't be who you need to be if you're depleted. And so you have to be, and sometimes people that feel self-centered, that feel, no, I'm a better mom, I'm a better wife, I'm a better employee, I'm a better entrepreneur, all of those things, I'm a better friend. If I'm
healthier. When I'm depleted, it affects my health.
And then you can't do anything, and you don't want to be in that place. You have to stay healthy, mind, body, spirit. You have to do it in order to be effective. And so it's something I have to remind myself of. But also, show yourself compassion, because things will just happen, right? And there'll be days where you won't be able to do that. That's just, it's real talk. But at least be mindful. If every day you can get up and look in the mirror and say, I matter, I'm valuable, I touch so many people, what do I need to fill myself up in order to be more effective? If you can ask yourself things like that and talk to yourself like that, then I think you can see a difference. But you have to realize you matter. And I've worked with a lot of people who don't. Their dreams don't matter. Because again, it falls into all these other spaces, right? Well, my dreams don't really matter. Other people's do for myself, right? Or here, a quick exercise you can do to kind of refocus that, or, my job matters more than I do, or it's ahead of my family. I have a chart that I do with clients where, I'll put, God at the top, and then their family next to them. Underneath it, write the different things that are extensions of yourself, your job, your wellness routine. If you're working on a book, time with friends, you'll be able to clearly see all of that falls underneath you, your family, and God. And it'll help you reprioritize what you're doing. And if you're not taking care of yourself, you cannot take care of those other things at the level you need to, at the level you need to, and that you'll be held accountable for.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Another great piece of advice that you've given that I want to share with the network and for you to elaborate on is, very early on in this Power Network journey, I'm blessed that you were able to see further than I could even see as far as where it would go. And you told me very early on that I was going to have to say no to some things that looked really good to leave room for the great.
Yes.
And that even, and some things that were a good opportunity for me would actually be a great opportunity for others. And so it was an opportunity for me to help support others by saying no to this, but hey, what about so-and-so? And I have lived by those words, and it has really freed me. And then John, if you're still listening, John is straight to the point with me of either they can afford you or they can't. So between you telling me to say no to the good to leave room for the great, and him saying either they can afford you or they can't, because all this trying to barter and figure stuff out, and you guys are both very steadfast in those attributes, it was really critical. So can you just elaborate on this good, great, and how do I even know that, okay, because, you know, when you're especially when you're first starting in your new business or you're first starting to live your dream, it's like, oh, this, you know, you feel like I need to say yes because it's really it's a fear thing of I may not get another opportunity. So talk to that.
Great. Okay, so you had mentioned that John said to you, "What's your big crazy dream?" or something to that effect. So I do something very similar. Like, what's the big one, right? And so. And this, again, is before you start doing anything else. Get clear on what that is. And then what steps you need to take to attain that big dream. Have that on, you know, on your desk. And then when an opportunity rolls in, if it's not in alignment with you accomplishing the big goal, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, the 3-year plan, then it's not what you need to do. So I can give you an example. So with me, with You Are Aware, I'd been speaking for probably 20 years, even before I started You Are Aware, you know, but I had a vision for what I wanted to do through the public speaking piece that I do through You Are Aware. I was asked to do lots of different things. And some I would do at no cost, or if they donate money to the organization. However, if I said yes with an intention and with a connection to my big goals and dreams for my business. So if it's not in alignment, then you say no. Because if you spend all your time doing something that's not in alignment, then you will never accomplish your big dream. You can't, because you won't have time to. And then people will auto confuse your brand. So as a brand strategist, you know, if I'm saying yes to things I can do, I can do a whole bunch. And lots of other people can as well. But is it consistent with the big dream I said I had, right? that I said I was given to accomplish while I'm here. And so that is how I deal with that. Can I also speak to who can afford you, that other piece, or who can't afford you? So, you know, that's another thing. So with prices, it's important. So there might be some entrepreneurs out there listening. It's important that you feel good about your pricing and it reflects the services you offer. It is okay if someone can't afford it and you choose not to work with them. So give yourself permission to do that. Okay. It's okay. Because again, you have to line that up with, well, what are my financial goals for my business? If I want to reach 1 million people around the world, what do I need to do to accomplish that? Right? I need resources. And so it always goes back to that big dream. As far as I'm concerned, that's how, or your big and your goals for your family. How I would think about it. Yeah.
I get asked by a lot of people, but to your point, I can do so many things. How do I know which one is my big dream? How do you answer that question?
Sit and really think about it. I think so. Yeah, we all can do lots of things. So I've been an attorney. I've been a prosecutor, a civil litigator. I've run a nonprofit. I've done outreach. All of those things, I think, prepare me for this moment. So I'm all for multitasking and doing great things. But the challenge and the commitment must be sit down and give some thought to what you're created to do in this moment. And then commit to execution of that. You know, unapologetically commit to it. So I think it takes a lot of work on the front end in order to be clear on what you want to do on the other side of it. And I think we don't do that enough. And I think that's why coaches actually help. I really do think a coach is valuable in that space. Because it's not about good, it's about being so.
Right. And that investment. You know, I've gotten to a place in my business, to your point, that we won't jump in and do your communications or brand or marketing strategy if we don't sit down and have some strategic coaching sessions up front, because I need to know that we're clear on what the plan is, what we're executing, and that you know what you want, and that you understand the way in which our processes work as well. Because I just find it easier on the back end if we've had those conversations and spent that time together up front to build that trust. And that front end work is so critical. And it stops, you know, us spending 2 months on one little curvature of your logo or, you know, the wording on your website, because we already went through what the big dream was and what the ultimate goal was that you want this business to accomplish. What problem does it solve, and what need does it serve? And I think that those two questions are applicable to life as well. Like in this life, what problem do you want to solve, and what need do you want to serve for people? And you're right, it takes sitting down and deciding, and then being committed to, nope, it's not in alignment with that. And so this is not what I meant to do. And I will be honest, it took me a while to get there, being and now I have no problem saying, no, I don't think I'm the one to do that. You know, like how I can easily say, I could easily throw up a life coaching package, and just based on the brand I've built, people would come. But I know it's not something I enjoy. It's not something that I feel that I'm called to or gifted in. So I would much rather recommend you or John or Desiree or, you know, other people who love to do that work and do it well, and that I know are constantly learning, listening, praying, and making sure that their tools are sharpened. For the coaches that are watching, talk about that sharpening of the tools as life continues to evolve. You know, 2020, a lot of us could have seen a lot of this happening. How do you agile as a coach to be able to assist people through some of the changes that have been experienced in a time like this?
I think I missed part of the question, but did you say, how do I continue to be able to help people through the times that we're going through?
How do you stay agile? Because you know, now there's different circumstances happening.
Yes, there are. Yes. So we'll say this. So because of the kind of my style, I feel like I'm able to speak to this moment, right? So the things that I would tell people before might be they might perceive them to be a little more challenging to do in this season, but they still apply. You know, it still is. Okay, what is in your life that is no longer serving you? What do you really want your life to look like? Now, I think that is a little trickier, right? Because for goodness, we're living through a pandemic, and you know, the racial strife. There's all these issues going on every day where we have to have courage to go to the grocery store. So certainly you take all that into account. But while you're in your house, take 15 minutes and think about, there's no limits in God. Write the vision, make it plain, right? So people who see it can run with it. What does it look like?
Right.
What could you do? Right. And I think this is an opportunity now, because we're working from home. What could this look like for me? What could be my new normal, right? And what are the steps I need to take in order to achieve it? So I have found the way that I coach has been able to meet people's needs. And this, I mean, it's the same thing with lawyers I work with in career transition. What do you value about your practice? What do you value about what you are bringing to the table? What do your clients need right now? Are they getting all of that where they're at? So again, it's, you know, you are aware is the business, you know, but I just help people transition, right? No matter what is happening, no matter the circumstance. So I found it pretty seamless. But I will say this, coaches on the line or anyone, it's just so important for people to continue who you respect and look up to, who know more than you, to speak into your life. And so for me, being at Major Lindsey Africa, there's so many rock stars that I can get different nuggets from that I love. And that's something sometimes you can miss as an entrepreneur if you are all by yourself and you are isolated. So continue to find organizations like Tempo, like Professional Dimensions, you know, other organizations where I'm in Dallas now, but other organizations where you can continue to learn from people. Because that is so important. If you're not learning, you can't help anybody else learn and grow. If you yourself are not learning and growing, you only be able to take them as far as you've been. And so if you've decided you know it all and have all the answers, you're not going to have a sustainable business. So that's what I would say. Though, find people who will speak into you. And that's something that I've been able to do.
Robert Powell, who's a very successful businessman here, always, you know, says, you know, when you're looking for a mentor or even a coach, it should be someone who has at least accomplished what you're trying to do times two. And I love that because, and what I want to say too, because Rhonda and I aren't very far apart, you know, in age, and not very far apart in age. A lot of people have this idea of, you know, how old a coach has to be and how much tenure you have to have. But there are areas of life that Rhonda has more experience and wisdom than I do, and same with John. And I also, you know, I mentioned, well, you know, he's the largest employer of Americans in the state of Wisconsin. There's just experiences that come with that I don't have. And so having brain trust around me of people that I can call and reach out to and text, even despite your busy lives, and hopefully you feel the same way if you have a question in my wheelhouse, is invaluable to my life, to my business, to my family, and to keeping me going, because it's not easy, to your point. And
Right.
so a lot of times, you know, individuals like yourselves help me keep going, and again, see things in me that maybe I can't see in that moment because I'm feeling overwhelmed, or because I have such high expectations of myself that I don't feel like I'm doing as well as that big dream I've got written on the whiteboard.
Yeah. No, I heard that. Yeah.
So I just want to say thank you. Is You Are Aware currently accepting clients?
Well, I will talk to people. I will still talk to people and provide some support. I'm primarily doing my work with Major Lindsay in Africa, but as you know, you're never surprised if I shoot a text or provide resources to people who I'm connected with. So certainly feel free to reach out to me. If you have any questions about anything that I have said today, you know, you'd like to learn more about the work that I have done, the people I've worked with, then please do reach out. Absolutely.
Yeah, and tell them where your pages are.
youareaware.com. So that's the letter U, letter R, AWARE.com. So if you go there, you will most certainly be able to reach me.
Yes. Well, thank you, Rhonda, for being who you are to so many women. You are proof that a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle, and you let your light shine so bright, and you are salt in the earth. And we're just thankful for you. And I get emotional just thinking about some of the moments that I've been blessed to have with you. And she's fun, y'all. She's fun. She's a good girl. She's a good girlfriend. You know, I know y'all deep today, but like we have fun. We laugh.
I can dance. Like 90s hip hop.
She's loud.
You know,
she's a musician. I mean, she's just so multifaceted. And that's the other thing too. Don't box yourself in. She's all of these things make up the Rhonda you see. And it is her authentic self. Sometimes people see women like you. I feel like sometimes people meet women and they're like, there's no way she's who she appears to be. And it's like, nope, that's really who I am. Look, Danielle Bly just said truth. Look, Danielle is a vice president, a rapper, fashionista.
Yes, she is. Yes, I'm waiting for the line.
A great gift giver. Look, look, my crystal Bob is right behind me. A great friend, a mother, wife. And so as women, we wear all of these hats, and I am blessed that the women around me wear them prestigiously and with royal poise, but also we can be vulnerable with one another and honest with one another. And so I encourage you to, especially for a woman that may be watching, that's like, I haven't figured out my woman. Where is my village? They are out there. And the Bible tells us to be a friend, you have to show yourself friendly. And so I would just encourage, and I prayed, as I felt myself evolving, I asked God to evolve my friend circle and my colleague circle and my ally circle and all the circles right along with the trajectory in which He was taking my life. And to me, that was one of the most powerful prayers that I said, because he met me there and he exceeded my expectations.
Yes, he is faithful. And thank you so much for having me on today. It has been a pleasure. Love to come back on
Yes.
in the future. Today, though, I would just like to also say to everyone listening, really have the courage to be you. You are more than enough. You have everything you need inside of you. And just be it. Be committed to every day showing up and being your authentic self, and you can't go wrong. And certainly you have the PowHER Network, you have other support systems. They can help you along the way, but you have everything you need today inside of you to be everything you were created and called to be. And so I just challenge you to accept that as truth and to move forward with PowHER. So thank you.
That's the perfect way to end it. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Love you.
Bye. Love you too. Bye-bye.